Hey, welcome everybody. This is Seth Hackler with Quilting on a Budget. So on here we learn how to do different quilting related things, cover a bunch of different topics from how to do projects, make blocks, anything to do with quilting. So today what we are going to be doing, I wanted to actually work on this project here. If anybody of you has been following along, you'll know that this is the Hugs for Dave project that we've been working on. And we're to the point where we need to put a border on that. But I got to thinking, I've been doing an incredible amount of sewing, quilting, and so on. Sorry for the shaky cam. That will stop here in just a second. And I realized, you know what, it's been an incredibly long time since I have done any maintenance on my machine. So I started pulling the covers off. And, yeah, to my amazement, here is what we're looking at. So I'm going to show you guys how simple it is to clean and why you need to clean. Now, this is horrible for a machine, okay? And it doesn't take long to get like this. Every machine has its care instructions and when you need to oil, maintain, and so on. So mine is a Juki TL 2000. So let me get you set up to where you can see what it is I'm doing. And then we're going to get into this. Because this is, of course, you know, not one of the more exciting parts of this hobby of ours. But it's definitely one of the more important. Because if you don't have a machine, then how can you sew and quilt and get all your stuff done? So, here's what I am starting out with. This is the oil that came with my machine. This is what Juki recommends. So, if you have a machine like this that needs oil, you want to make sure you're using the proper oil for it. You don't want to just use whatever, okay? So find out what your machine recommends. Normally it's just general sewing machine oil. So you want to make sure you're using that. Now, some machines, some newer machines, you do not oil them. They are oilless and they're pretty maintenance free. Okay? But mine happens to be the kind that it requires me to do a little bit of the maintenance here. So, move my light around so you guys can see and so I can see. Now, this doesn't take very long. It's not a very hard process, but we want to start with... Now, I just have a simple cleaning kit that's got a couple things, okay? Nothing fancy. I've got some Q-tips. And I've got a brush. Now, you can do this same thing with Q-tips and a wooden skewer and getting your kid's craft bucket and grab some pipe cleaners, whatever you want to do. Okay, so now if you have a Juki, this will be how you can do your servicing. It's pretty simple. The general idea will apply to other machines as well. Okay, so what we can see in here is all this gunk around my feed dogs. And that needs to be gone. Now, the other important thing, my machine is unplugged. I don't want this coming on while I'm doing this. So my machine is totally unplugged. There's no way that this is going to pop on while I got my hand in these parts, because this is where everything moves right here. So with a Q-tip, or, you know, a bottle brush works really good. Something you would use to clean, like... baby bottle nipples, that works really good. Anything with some bristles that'll get in here and get all this cleared out. Now, what you do not want to do, you do not want to get one of those cans of canned air that you use on a keyboard and start blasting air into here, because all that is going to do is force all this gunk further into your machine where you're not going to be able to get to it without really taking your machine apart. So this is a pretty soft bristle brush here. This is actually a brush used to like clean a camera. For you women, if you got a blush brush that maybe you're not using that is clean, I wouldn't go sticking one in there that's chock full of blush. That would probably work. But you can see right here, see all that? People wonder, why is my tension messed up? Why is my machine skipping? It's not sewing like it should. Well, you would be amazed what a difference all this crud in here makes. So we are going to get in there as good as we can. Now, I'm going to do this from this side. And sorry for the shaking. I kind of got you on this little clamp because I want you to be able to be down here where I'm doing this work. And you can see what I'm doing. Now, you see how much better that looks in that area right there? Okay, we got most of this cleaned out. Now, for my particular machine, and, you know, every machine is different, but my particular machine also, you want to be careful laying this over because you don't want to bust your spool pins or any of that. But my particular machine has an access point on the bottom, so I want to get up under there too because it's got a ton of grime and crap on it. So we're going to clean all that off. Get in here with some Q-tips. Whatever this brush won't get, maybe it's a little stubborn or there's some oil in there. You'll be amazed at how much crap will come out, because no matter what kind of good fabric or good thread, bad thread, whatever, they all have lint. They all create lint going through the eye of your needle and punching down into your machine. All of them do. That's also when people ask about different threads, what makes a thread good thread, bad thread. Well, a lot of that has to do with how linty they are. Okay, and if you're like me and you do a ton of quilting, you don't want a thread that is going to make a bunch of lint. Okay? Now, up here is the inside of the head. And so really nothing goes on in there. And nothing really goes on in here, but I'm still going to just clean the dust out because it's easy. You know, here's where your little light is and your thread cutter and so on. So, pretty easy peasy. Now, I'm just going to keep cleaning this because it wasn't horrible. But you still want to clean it. Get it. Okay. So, like stuff like this little piece of thread, that doesn't seem like a big deal, but your machine works on very tight clearances. And that one little piece of thread will mess things up. So as you can see, it's pretty clean now. Okay? Not 100%. But for sitting down here at the desk for a 10 or 15 minute job here, it's pretty good. I'm pretty fine with that. So we're going to brush it, and then there's a couple oil points on this machine. Now, if you don't know where your machine needs to be oiled, you need to get into your manual and figure that out, or type in Google and figure out where your oil points are, because you need to know when to oil. And over-oiling is just as bad as not having enough oil. Okay, got to keep that in mind as well. Okay, so I think we're good on the clean. So now what I'm going to do is, it's been a while. Now, the top of this machine is also pretty bad, but I need to get me like probably a magic eraser or something, and come in here and get some of this really stuck on grime off. But as far as the dust goes, we'll just brush it for the time being. Okay. All right, so I got everything pretty decent. Okay, now, on my machine, I've got a couple holes here, 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 and here. Not all of these are oil points. I believe this one and this one here are. I believe so. You know what? I'm not sure, so boom. All right. Now, I normally can't keep track of anything. The one thing I did make sure I did was keep my book in here where I could access it. So we are gonna look through here. Alright. Because it won't hurt to put oil in the wrong holes. They're just screw holes. But I want to make sure I'm getting oil in the right spots, though, without wasting oil. Here we are. Okay. So, that's where we're going to lubricate the machine. That's where it's recommended. So the 4 holes on top, we got 2 on the bed. And they also want you to lubricate the hook. So that's what we're going to do. And it literally takes a drop. Okay. So, up here, drop. And then we're going to come over here, drop. And then down on the bed. And this bad boy ought to be humming along now that it's got a bath, a little bit of oil. Okay, now, got to do in here too. Now, what they were pointing at was this spiky point right here. Right here, that's the hook of your machine. That's what goes around and catches your thread. And I am going to, sorry you can't see that, but I can't reach it. There we go. So I just dropped some oil right here, and now I'm going to rotate it. And that oil will come around nice and good. Boom. Oh yeah, now she sounds good. Now, anytime you're rotating your hand crank, any of you seasoned quilters will know, but maybe you newer ones won't. You always rotate it towards you. Doesn't matter what sewing machine or brand or anything. It always comes towards you. All right. Sounds good. Now, all you got to do, put it back together. This is the plate that goes like this. We'll slit this here. Put the screws back on. The plate underneath snaps back on. And then it's time to re-thread it. Since I went ahead and cleaned, I'm going to go ahead and swap out, put a new needle in there as well. And then I'm ready to go. Okay. Turn that thing out of the way. Okay, so I thought I would share because when you're new, this is one of the things that's kind of overlooked. Nobody really tells you when to change your needle, how often to change your needle, how often I should be cleaning my machine, what's a good noise and a bad noise. So this is kind of one of the important things is your machine maintenance. My machine's not super expensive that I would consider expensive. It's kind of mid-level. I think I paid around $600 for it. And this thing will last forever if you maintain it properly. But you can also do the same thing if you have a $150 sewing machine like I started out with. Okay, I had a $100 machine for 20 plus years because I didn't try to sew excessively through a ton of layers because I knew it wasn't meant for that. And I made sure I cleaned it and kept it oiled and maintained it. So if you take care of your machine, they will last. So this right here is part of taking care of your machine and making sure it lasts. It's not the most fun. Nobody really does videos on them. You're not going to find Missouri Star or Rob Appel or, you know, the Late Night Quilt Show. They're not going to burn 30 minutes on how to clean your machine because it's not fun and sexy and flashy. But you know what? You can't have fun, sexy, flashy quilting time if your machine's broken. So let's cover some of the basics from time to time. This is one of the basics. So I'm out of here. I've got more parts cut for this other machine or this other quilt that we are working on. I've got all my strips done. Move this out of the way. Swing you guys around and show you. So I've got the strips done now. And then the next step will be to sew strips down to the bottoms of these. And we will be making this quilt here. Okay, that's what the pieces are cut out for. So, turn you around. Sorry for the flip-flopping. So, that's it for tonight. I'm off here. I'm going to now start sewing after I put all my machine back together. And then another thing that we are going to learn is I made a big boo-boo on this quilt. Okay? Now, it seems like a random pattern, but you'll notice this block doesn't look like this set here. This one's right. This one's facing the wrong way. So we're going to learn how to take this big section out of an already sewn quilt and then take this block out of an already sewn quilt, and we're going to face it the right direction. Okay? I will probably do that tomorrow. But this is a good skill to learn, because why leave that in there if it's a simple fix? This is probably going to be about 20 minutes worth of work, maybe, to dismantle this big section here and then take this bad boy out and flip it the right way. Okay? So that's another thing to learn. And anyway, I'm out of here because I'm rambling. I'm going to get off here and sew. Thanks for joining me. Clean your machine, okay? Don't be afraid to do it. Open stuff up. Do not use canned air. It will make matters worse. You're going to pack all the dirt and dust and grime further into your machine. Use pipe cleaners from the craft store. Use a baby bottle brush. Use Q-tips carefully because the cotton will pull off, so be careful. And oil where you're supposed to oil, okay? Look it up on Google or look it up in your manual, because oiling is important. Too little or too much. Oil it how you're supposed to. Anyway, that's it, y'all. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good evening. Go quilt somebody, something. Tell someone you love them. Smile. Be happy. Happy quilting. Bye.